such negative energy. It's like, oh, well, it wasn't you. But I'm like, well, I did vote for the man. I was, hey, bro, we was on Team MAGA. So yes, we won, sis, and y'all lost. Because who was you voting for? Kamala? Ah, yes. Okay, I forgot. Who lost the election? Yeah, I thought so.
So speaking of Trump, I do want to talk a little bit about his policy on DEI. As you know, in his first weeks in office, he signed the executive order declaring that DEI is both unlawful and a threat to national unity. And I just kind of want to ask you to elaborate on why DEI is unlawful.
Well, based on the Civil Rights Act, which I have disagreements with, but based on the Civil Rights
It's unlawful and disrespectful to the people who it benefits.
Act, which is the law of the land,
or who would kind of perceive the benefits, but low-key end up suffering on the back end.
that says you shall not discriminate based on color, race, creed, or origin of nationality.
Yes.
And DEI definitionally does those things.
How does it definitionally do those things?
So, for example, if you say you are going to hire a certain amount of people or have scholarships only for a certain people, you are then prejudicing against another group.
Which group are you prejudiced
So
against?
white people, Asians as well. I mean, white people are an easy one off the top of your head. So, for example, in the Harvard admissions case, I said this earlier, the average test score for a black individual was around 1,300 SAT, about 3.2 GPA. For a white or Asian, it would be about a 3.9 to 4 GPA and about nearly a perfect SAT. So you are disenfranchising and stereotyping and prejudicing against whites or Asians in favor of blacks.
You're not prejudicing against whites or Asians, though, because DEI is not on a race basis. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion of all people. Affirmative action is what is intended to address racial inequality, but DEI isn't on the basis of race.
Well, so DEI
Here's the problem. No, it kind of is. DEI is on the basis of race and gender. So these businesses, bro, if they can get you a Filipino supervisor from that barely knows a lick of English, they'll do it to satisfy the DEI initiative. And let it be a woman too. Oh, I mean, hey, they ate up with that one. They ate up with that. So yeah, like there's a lot of people who was bending backwards to put women in positions that they kind of didn't deserve, but they were getting that DEI tax break for it. Or I forgot what Patrick Bet Davis called it. What was it? An ESG score. They already, to up their ESG score. The woker you go as a company, the more lending you can get from that bank.
As a project of the affirmative action movement. So one comes before the other. He signed an executive order against both, for the record. So I wasn't sure which one you were talking about.
I'm talking about DEI.
So DEI, it depends what we mean in practice. So I can give you one example. There are black-only graduation ceremonies at certain schools or black-only dormitories.
But those are kind of student-led. I'm part of a black-only organization, and it's run by students. It's not
fair enough.
The school.
Let's play it out. So if there is a black-only, let's pretend, which it's not, that building is black-only. If I said that, if that building was
white,
like
the campus
center? No, I said let's pretend it's not.
Yes, hypothetically, yes.
Hypothetically, if that building was white only, you would agree that's a violation of the Civil Rights Act.
Yes, but there are no buildings on campus that are black only and white only. And by the way,
but there are on other campuses.
No, but in those dormitories that are like culturally specific, you don't have to be that culture to live there. They're not going to not allow you to be black to live in a black dormitory.
You would
Ujima at Stanford. White people do live at Ujima. That's not.
I don't know about that specific example, but if it says black only dormitory,
but it doesn't say black only.
But okay, how about this? How about if we had what it does?
It doesn't. Where does it say that?
Just to be clear, well, in the title, but let's pretend it says
where?
black.
Like what school? Where does it say black only building?
Eastern Washington.
And guys, man, if you're feeling the content, please double tap that screen, like the video, and also if you want to engage also with me in it, go ahead and super chat in $2 and up, and I'll go ahead and engage with any question, comment, joke, disagreement. I would love a disagreement, please. And we'll go ahead and read it out loud and post it to the top of the screen. Appreciate the support, guys.
University, Portland State University, just off the top of my head, San Jose State University.
They say black only dormitory? And if a white person were to apply to live there?
It's a black affinity cultural space of which only black individuals are accepted and governed for black individuals. But can we have white affinity cultural spaces?
You can have a white affinity cultural space. The activity is... The issue is that you're saying black only. It's not black only. It's a black affinity cultural space, but anyone is invited if they would like to participate.
I would, first of all,
you cannot legislatively not allow someone of any race to participate in something that doesn't exist.
We agree. That's the spirit of the diversity, equity, inclusion order, is that DEI in practice again, we have to go through example after example is discrimination, prejudice,
Well,
and
let's
segregation.
talk about DEI in practice. Let's
Okay.
talk about DEI programs in the workforce, because DEI programs in the workforce happen to benefit veterans. They benefit people with disabilities. They benefit people at an economic desperate. They benefit lots of people that is not just on the basis of race. And to me, it feels like you're conflating DEI with pro-blackness or black only,
So
which is
let's-
not the definition of DEI.
So let's take a high-profile DEI example. Is that cool? Just maybe one we can play around with.
Okay.
Which got me in a lot of viral trouble, which I don't care. Which is pilots.
I got in a lot of viral trouble too. I
Hey,
was debating this guy,
I
you know.
And he kept interrupting you.
He did.
I know, right? Which is this?
Oh,
Which is that?
Petty, but
Let's say DEI. A project of DEI at United Airlines was that we want to get 40% of our pilots to be black or women of color, or women or people of color.
40%.
50. I'm sorry, to get up to 50. It was at like 6%. So therefore, they wanted to make a push towards that, and it was currently at 6%. We look at that and we say, "Wow, you're going to have to lower standards to get to that goal."
Why would you have to lower standards?
Well, because
Are you saying that black people are
no,
inherently inferior?
I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying that black people are only 13% of the population. So you want 13% of the population.
Women are not 13% of the population. Women are 50% of the population.
Yeah, but women do not make up a majority of people that want to become pilots. In fact, the
Good
vast
point.
majority of women don't want to be pilots.
Maybe they would want to become pilots if the barriers for entry
Well,
weren't.
see that.
Well, no. We can't lower the barrier of entry. That's the problem. That's the whole problem with DEI. I wanted to lower the standard to let people in. And if we're lowering the standard to be a pilot, that's endangering the people flying on your plane. If we're lowering the standards to become doctors, we're endangering patients. If we're lowering the standards to become police officers, we're endangering the public. That's the problem with DEI. We can't lower barriers. Bro, we need the barriers to be there to keep the people who are unqualified out. Duh. But all right,
Now we're going down a different but equal.
and yeah, yo, we got about 300 of y'all in here, man. Hey, appreciate the support. Go ahead and double tap that screen, like the video, and subscribe to the channel, by the way. And if you have any questions, comments, or jokes, set it in $2 and up. Go ahead and read it out loud and post to the top of the chat or top of the screen. Appreciate y'all. Let's go.
Equally fun direction, which is male-female differences. Men much more likely want to be involved in heavy machinery mechanics. They want to be pilots. They want to be tank operators. They want to be police officers. Whereas women much more likely want to be, I'll get to you, Mason. Don't worry. And I remember your name.
Yes, can Mason go? They won't let him go because he's
I'll
not
let Mason
USC.
go. I'll let Mason go. But just Mason, have some patience. We did this last time, okay? But do you understand, at least from our perspective, because it's no good for us to go back and forth again. Maybe from our perspective, that we worry that the pursuit of diversity can mean the compromising of excellence.
Charlie Kirk, this country is diverse. You can't just say the pursuit of diversity is compromising excellence. Diversity literally just means difference. This country is 13% black. It's 14% immigrant. It's 1/5 of every person in this country is Hispanic. It's 7% homosexual, and 50% of the country disagrees with you.
Okay,
Diversity is America. You cannot say
all of that is true.
Diversity is America, but in this market, when it comes to these jobs, diversity isn't merit. That's what we're getting. That's what we're trying to get to y'all. Diversity does not equal merit. Okay, good. Get in your head. Diversity, merit do not equate.
You
Hold on.
are America first if you do not care about half of America.
I care about them so much. In fact,
You care about them so much that you don't
hold on.
want to give them
I didn't interrupt you.
access
I care
to
about
equal rights.
Well, hold on. No one said rights. Hold on a second. No. I care about
It
them.
is. It's equal rights. It's
Naima,
equal
let me
access.
finish. Let me finish. Now who's interrupting you? I care about them so much. I want the only thing that they're ever judged on is to be their character or their competency, not their skin color.
Okay, so you want it to be a meritocracy. You want it to be
Yes.
so let's talk about a meritocracy.
Okay.
Yeah.
What experience does Kash Patel have to run the FBI?
He has amazing experience.
No,
In
he
fact,
doesn't. He wanted to start a
got-
UFC fighting
He has
program.
Bro, he used to be an FBI agent. I mean, what else? What else do you want? Bro was in the FBI. That's the experience he has. Okay, that's crazy. Yo, it's like, here's the thing. Like, they talk shit about people that they haven't done no research in. Like, yo, just because somebody asks Kash Patel the question, like, oh, what is your skills? Like, what gives you the right to run the FBI? Is like, bro, maybe y'all should just look up for yourselves. Just because Kash Patel kind of gave a roundabout answer, it doesn't mean that he didn't have the skills. One, yes, he worked for the FBI. Two, he was helping Trump with that stuff during his administration. I mean, what's the problem here? I don't get it. Well, what's the hatred for Cash Patel? Here's the thing. I thought y'all liberals like diverse people. I thought y'all like DEI. Y'all should like Cash Patel.
Amazing experience. I got 5 words in. He was the most important thing. He was a public defender.
That's not what that's not the job of the FBI. He has no experience in the FBI.
He was a public defender and he was a special prosecutor.
Was he ever a member of the FBI?
No, but
he doesn't have the merit to have that. All right, let's do another example.
Right.
What experience does Linda McMahon? What experience does Linda McMahon have to run?
She ran the Small Business Administration in the first term, which is a big, big organization. She was the head of the SBA.
When she was the CEO of WWE,
I'm not even talking about that. She ran the SBA.
One of her employees was engaging in pedophilic behavior with their ring boys under her watch.
I'm not going to defend that.
Actually, no, I was. Let's see. Actually, no, I was wrong. Let's see here. I think Cash Patel is. Let's see here. Florida was admitted as a member of the Florida bar, so he's kind of like a lawyer. All right, say less. Shoot. Wait. Yeah, he's a lawyer. I mean, and what does the FBI do? And engage in law enforcement. So here's the thing. Quick fact check. Yes, he's pretty much a lawyer, and and he hasn't been in the FBI, but he has dealt with law enforcement. And what is the FBI? Law enforcement. All right. I can give him a pass still.
He is somehow qualified to be responsible for all of America's children.
Hold on a second. She was previously a cabinet secretary and then became a different cabinet secretary. That's like a 1-to-1.
Yeah, and then before that, she was enabling a pedophile.
So what you're first of all, I don't know about that instance. If that's true, that's wrong.
That's very much true. How do you not know about that, Charlie?
I don't know about
very much
again
public information. It's really important to know that the head of the Department of Education is currently in a lawsuit.
But let me finish the point, which is that the WWE can be easily made fun of.
That's what it was. He was a chief of staff to United States Secretary of Defense. Yes. So Secretary of Defense. That was Christopher Miller. Yeah, he was the chief of staff to that guy. So there's also further proof that he kind of got some skill. He got some skin in the game. Let's see. Principal Deputy Director of National Intelligence. I mean, all right, why not? Shoot, why not? Yeah, he got some skills.
Serious business, though. It's a multi-billion-dollar business.
It is that engaged in pedophilic activity.
Of which I denounce. I don't support that. However, she was head of the SBA, and now she's head of the Department of Education. Tell me another unqualified person.
Another unqualified person?
Marco Rubio
unqualified? Okay. No, actually, I think Marco is slightly more qualified.
Let's talk about Hegseth. He's the most qualified because he actually accepted enemy fire and lost loved ones and friends of his own.
That doesn't make you...
Hold on.
Dude,
to run the U.S. military, to be a warrior, not just an academic general, that's very important.
Look, dude, I respect veterans. My boyfriend's a veteran. I love veterans. That being said, not every person who is a veteran is qualified to run the Department of Defense.
I think
but I'd be real with you. It'd probably best that a veteran is running the Department of Defense, but it has seen war and do know the horrors of war, and can have and then that knows it on a personal level. I think that would be best. I mean, who would you want? Somebody that never been to war? I mean, what sense does that make? I mean, what? Somebody that's just been working for weapons company their whole life? You want that person to run it? Like, come on now. Now, shout out DD Gaming. Forced diversity doesn't work. Natural diversity works and has less issues. You can't force people to be friends with each other. And I'm telling you, bro, and it only creates, I'm gonna be worried with you, further diversity. Like, look, when you letting these people in off low test scores, do you not think the other students do not know? When you letting these people into these jobs, into these, I guess, leadership positions or high level positions, and they're unskilled or they come in there kind of effing up, do you not think we know why they're here? We know what DEI is. We know what it looked like. Sure, we knew DEI before you even had a name put on it. The problem is, though, it was the framing of it. It was the framing of, oh, well, we're just trying to even the playing field. And I'm like, wait, wasn't that the whole reason we got rid of, like, this affirmative action where, like, even the playing field didn't really work? Like, letting these kids in on low test scores, which made them end up failing out of these colleges, or letting these people up in these high positions and end up doing bad and getting fired. It's like, bro, DEI, affirmative action is damn near the same thing. And guess what? At least the same result. It just doesn't work.
he's also shown the last couple of weeks he's doing a pretty phenomenal job. The prior head of the DOD, Lloyd Austin, could barely climb up a flight of stairs. Pete Hegseth is up at 5 a.m. doing PT with the troops, running miles, and then doing an entire day at the Pentagon. And you might say that doesn't matter. I actually think physical fitness and being a good example to our troops is very important when you're the head of the Department of Defense.
Okay, but being the head of the Department of Defense is not about doing push-ups.
Hold on, but first of all, it's actually just refreshing versus Mark Milley and Lloyd Austin. But secondly, I will say the criteria is that he's a warrior's warrior. He's someone that was in the front lines and actually received medals and knows what it's like to lose loved ones. And the other people,
and he ran organizations to help veterans. I mean, that's also a good one right there.
That were qualified, Naima, were people that got us in endless wars, people that never saw combat. I think it's finally time that we have someone in combat that runs the Secretary of Defense. I think that's immensely qualified.
Okay, sure. So we'll take Pete Hegseth for Department of Defense.
Yes, he's
we'll
doing a
take
great job.
Someone who enabled pedophilia for the Department of Education.
That's an unfair
We'll take Cash Patel, who's never worked in the FBI.
He was a prosecutor, so the FBI's a
dude. Do you remember what he said when he first got the nomination?
Do you want to go back to Cash Patel for a second?
He said, "Yeah." I'm like, this is sick.
Okay,
that is
can we go back to Cash Patel though?
That is like insanely inappropriate.
Can we go back to Cash Patel? So he was himself a prosecutor that tried cases. That's a law enforcement mechanism.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, you're not. She thinks she's cooking, but you're not. But hey, though, she had a nice little run. She had a nice run. But yeah, Casper Tell, he worked in law enforcement. He prosecuted cases. And what does the FBI do last time I checked? I mean, yeah, they will indict your ass. They do have cases. So yeah, Cash Patel has experience in what the FBI would honestly work with. So when y'all say he's not experienced, I'm like, whoa. What do you mean? What do you mean that he's not experienced? In what? We're doing the same job as the FBI? I mean, prosecuting criminals? Weird. Damn, now she got booed off though. That's tough.
I think they're asking for someone else.
All right.
Yeah, that was tough. That was tough for her. But all right, let's get into this interview real quick because I ain't even gonna lie. What's her name? What was her name? It was Lindy Lee. I know we did one with her before, but come on, man. It just be too damn entertaining with this woman. Let's get right into it, bro.
How much time did you spend with Kamala?
A lot. They came to my house. I hosted them for free. I'm one of those rich folks who give money. I don't get paid for any of this.
Nothing.
I feel like it stole half a decade of my life. And I realized conservatives were right all along. That's what we're deciding between the continued existence of a republic or an authoritarian regime. And President Trump wants America to prosper.
What really happened in 2020 when Biden won?
They gave us talking points on a daily basis.
Who's they?
The campaign, the White House, we were sent talking points. And I'm going to catch so much flack. But I'm here to be honest. I do have one picture that looks kind of weird.
Of you and him?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm about to make news, aren't I? Someone told me that he's having an affair with his wife, who's basically become a national hero.
Where did you learn that has the most power behind closed doors that everybody fears, that no one knows about?
There were 3 of them. They were essentially the president behind the scenes, and Biden was just the facade.
Like, what could they do?
These they could 3. Do anything.
What's anything?
Run the world.
You know what I wanted to know about this podcast here, this sit down with Lindy Lee. I mean, she's been all over the place. I wanted to find out how all Chris Cuomo